Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're connecting from today. And welcome to this webinar, Poland's Rising Role in Europe's Data Center Evolution. My name is Christina Galan from RedMat Events, and I will be the moderator for today's session. So thank you so much for joining today. I have a couple of housekeeping rules, and then we will meet our speakers for the day. We have a couple of presentations prepared and also a Q&A mini session. So first and foremost, this webinar will be recorded and we will send to everyone the materials approved by our speakers in a couple of days, maybe next week. If you have any questions and you are connecting with us via Zoom, you have a Q&A box right below. So any questions you have at any time for our speakers, please send them that way. We also highly encourage you to use our chat just to introduce yourselves, let us know where you're from, why you're interested in data centers in Poland, and anything else you would like to comment. Feel free to use that chat. If you are connecting from YouTube, you also have a chat for both questions and interaction. First and foremost, this webinar will last around an hour approximately. And if you have any questions that we can help you, just send us also a chat. So moving on, thank you. I'm seeing that people are already posting things, so great. I want to ask our speakers of the day to make a brief introduction, let us know who they are, where they're coming from, and a little bit their connection to data centers. So I'm going to start by order of presentation. So Apolinary Fałek, I'm going to start with you. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Hello. Yeah, small introduction from my side because it is always worth to mention about the current situation when I'm in what I'm doing from the perspective of the information that I'm going to present you. So I'm the CEO of Linar Projekt. This is the data center architecture engineering consulting company. What is worth to mention from my perspective is that we had the chance and quite big opportunity to design the data center facilities for the Polish market with a total capacity approximately in a value of 400 megawatts IT, counting the numbers from this year, including the numbers from this year. Considering this number, it is worth to mention about the information that till the end of 2024, the average on the Polish DC market was around 50 megawatts IT built in total annually in Poland. So I think our country, our company has made a significant contribution to the development of the data center market directly in Poland. Thank you.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Apolinary, so much to be here. So next, moving on, we have Michał Furmankiewicz. How are you doing today? Welcome to this webinar.
Thank you. Hello, guys. My name is Michał. I'm working at Microsoft. Currently, I'm a senior solution engineer working with apps and AI. But in the past, I've been responsible for the global expansion team for our data centers across, mainly in Poland. And yeah, I'll tell you how we are investing across the globe, but mainly I will focus on Europe and the latest investments regarding the data centers, but also what we are trying to do to support the expansion of the AI systems. Thank you.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, both of you joining today. And without further ado, let's start with the presentation. So Apolinary, I'm going to ask you whenever you are ready to show your slides.
Yes, I'm ready. Just give me a second.
Yes. In the meantime, I will want to tell everybody about our in-person event of RedMat Storage Poland that will take place on the 25th and 26th of February. If you have any questions, let us know. My colleague Maria has sent some information regarding the event. So if you have any questions or anything you want to ask, just feel free to do so. So Apolinary, I see you are ready. There you go. Didn't say anything. The floor is yours.
Okay, I think from the perspective that I have right now, something like 15 minutes, I must be fast with it. So when I was preparing this slideshow, this presentation, I've decided to split it on 3 stages because it's difficult to talk about the future when you will not talk about the past. So I would like to talk a little bit shortly about the significant information from the historical point of view about the Polish DC market. Then I will go through directly to the current situation, how it looks like right now on 2025. And then I will share with you with the information about the optimistic forecast for the Polish DC market. So without further ado, I think those presentations will be shared with the whole viewers that are joining right now on the webinar. So maybe part of the presentation have some kind of the information that will not be directly described by me, but you can investigate and be more familiar with the information that are implemented on the presentation. So mostly probably like on the rest of the DC markets in Europe and the world probably, the whole DC story were started in Poland between starting in the 20th century, something around 1960, when the first computing centers were raised. Those first computing centers were raised only for the research purpose and government purpose, because there was no situation like we have right now that the needs from the computing situation were just quite low. So going through by 1990 and 2000, it is worth to mention that the pioneers of the modern data centers has started operate on this market, on our market. So 2 important companies, NSAK government company and Atman, later then ATM, later Atman. So maybe one of you knows this company from the Polish data center market. Those 2 companies begins developing early commercial colocation. And between 21st and 2010, first large commercial data center was raised on our market. What is important from the historical point of view, it is worth to mention that between 2010 and 2019, for the large DC facilities, Polish DC market were evaluated and the operators were start work with the TR3 and TR4 standards, which was the first imported sign for the clients out from Poland, that the Poland is ready to operate with the high level of the standards on our market directly. And one of the biggest milestones right now when I'm judging the story and history of Polish DC market is the 2020, when the cloud era and hyperscaler has been started on the Polish DC market. This was directly dedicated for the Google Cloud and the Microsoft Azure and their needs, and they just evaluate and significantly make an impact on the Polish DC market. I don't want to talk about the history of the Polish DC market. So for you that you would like to operate with the diagram, I prepared the schema. You can be more familiar with the schema with the my presentation after the webinar. So sum upping and judging the past situation and the current situation, what is worth to mention right now that the Poland today is the leading data center hub in Central and Eastern Europe. Why I'm talking about this? Because we see how the situation from the past perspective looks like, and we see at what stage we are right now. We have quite big opportunities on the DC market directly, but the geopolitical situation and the location of Poland gave us the information that we are fully ready to be the market leader on this region. From the numbers that were operating till 2023, it is, I would say, worth to mention once again, but we see from the numbers how the market evaluates and how the market can change easily, because between 2021 and 2023, the capacity of the Polish data center were just almost double, because in only 3 years, the capacity were raised almost 33%. And yeah, this slide maybe will help a little bit to understand the capacity, because between 2015, sorry for the 75, it should be 60 megawatts IT, because between 2015 and 2025, when we were starting from 60 and ending on 245, the capacity of the Polish DC market were just dynamic. So collecting the information from the past, it is good to indicate you that not only the Warsaw region is dedicated for the data center location. Till 2023, it was mostly 50% of the market were located directly near to Warsaw region. But now, till the end of 2025, that the Polish DC market evaluate slightly, and you, if you are one of the representatives of the businesses dedicated for the hyperscale, may consider rest of the cities in Poland to implement your business here. And we see that the cities like from the Silesia region, like Katowice, from the greater Poland, like Poznań, and the rest of the cities like Kraków and Wrocław are directly dedicated for this kind of the business. Why it's good to consider it not only of course, Warsaw is the primary target for everyone, but those 6 important cities are close located to the main fiber optic backbone in Poland. That's why from the perspective of the hyperscalers, it is of course the level of the latency is very important. But when we will have the information that those cities are quite close to the optic backbone, you can consider it to locate the hyperscaler cloud and AI investment. Additionally, when the latency is not that minimum, if I may call it like this, like for the AI needs, you may consider the region far, for example, 100 kilometers far from Warsaw for the AI training campuses. So we are just quite flexible DC market from the different point of perspective. So we are just, we can be quite flexible, and we see that there is a lot of areas in Poland that the DC operators can make a businesses here. The diagram for the people that would like to work with the numbers in the graphic version. Market structure and key players. It is always good to talk about the market, indicating the current bigger players, but of course, these are the current bigger players from the perspective that the hyperscalers building their own data centers, everything can be changed in the future, but we are talking about the current situation. So main segment right now is the colocation and the hosting services. Still, this is the largest share of the commercial demand, enterprise computing shifting from the one premises server rooms to the professional DCs. So colocation and hosting still has the largest piece of the cake in Poland. From the hyperscaler infrastructure, we see that from 2020, when the hyperscaler were interested in Polish DC market, these needs were rising with the Polish DC market expectation. And we see that the Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure, Amazon are rising their shares of the hyperscale part of the DC market. It is good to talk about the current players like Equinix Data for Atman Beyond, but as I said previously, when the hyperscalers will enter to the market, openly, and they will build the data centers like their own, the situation probably will change. But I think for everyone is enough of room on Polish DC market to cooperate even. A few important information from the geographic concentration. We've been talking about the Warsaw metropolitan area. Right now, it is almost half of the market, so the businesses are located in Warsaw directly, in the Ożarów Mazowiecki areas, Duchnice, Jawczyce, but we see that the cities like Tarczyn, like Leszno, near to the Warsaw, Piaseczno too, are just quite comfortable to make businesses too. Rest of the cities, as I mentioned previously, Poznań, Kraków, Wrocław, probably they are good areas to consider for the future data center destinations. Strengths of the Polish DC market right now. I think when I was considering to prepare this slide, I've gathered 9 strongest strengths, but I've decided to choose 6 one. And first one is dynamic growth and increasing market maturity. So we must talk about the Polish DC market like it is one of the fastest growing data center market in Central and Eastern Europe. And it is a fact because during the previous session of DCN in Warsaw, I had a chance to meet people from the out of Polish market, from London, from Milano, from Germany, from Italy, and they've told me that Polish is the 5 country in Europe that the DC market should be considered. So 5 is the meaning of the large of the market. So it is everyone from them told me that they are waiting to start operate on the Polish DC market, and they have a needs to do it. So I think the attractive of geographic location maybe helps with it, because we are the natural hub between Western Europe and Central Eastern Europe for the countries like Baltics and Balkans areas. Additionally, we are the country that lays closely to Ukraine. Maybe for part of you, being the neighbor of the Ukraine is not that good, but from the perspective that right now Ukrainian government locate every information in a cloud, and for example, Poland is participating in the sharing of this information in the cloud in Polish DC data centers. So maybe the part of the countries, the neighbors of the Ukraine, the Balkan countries will decide to move their businesses to the cloud, and the clouds might be located directly in the Polish data centers. So it is quite open book to write down the story, what should be and how it should be located in the Polish data centers. Stable economic environment, well-developed telecom infrastructure, high technical standards and professionalizations. We indicate and show the European market that starting from 2010, we can operate with the highest standards. So right now, I think we are comparable with the European data center markets. And if you are the operator or you are the potential hyperscale clients who would like to operate on the Polish DC market, I can easily judge that we are ready to work with the highest level and highest standards. When we are talking about the data center market, it is good to talk about the development directions for the future. The 2025 is not end right now. That's why I've decided to put the 2024 till the 2030. But the information, it's just straight. Rapid capacity expansion. We see that we can expect that the market will grow over 500 megawatts IT by the 2030. So, and this is not this number was taken not from very optimistic forecast, but for the average forecast for the market. And we right now we see that it's quite easily to achieve this 500 megawatts by 2030. The market should be focused on the hyperscaler campuses with the scalable capabilities. Yes, but additionally, those data centers should be prepared like liquid ready. Liquid ready in the meaning that we see from the cost perspective when we are preparing the data center campuses, when they are partly or fully prepared for the liquid cooling, the capexes and the opexes are lower than the clients expected. So I think when we are considering the situation that the hyperscalers will have half of the cake or 2/3 of the cake of the Polish DC market, it will be good to be ready to welcome them directly in the facility that is fully ready to liquid cooling. Green and sustainable data centers. Most of these points touches whole European market, maybe the free and adiabatic cooling, partly the countries that has a good climate for the free cooling, in the meaning of the average temperature. But the transition of 100 renewable energy key investment areas includes like a free adiabatic cooling, energy reuse, multi-pixel heating, energy reuse effectiveness, water use effectiveness. Those areas are important for not only the DC market located in Poland, but the rest of the DC market in the whole world. So right now, everyone is focusing on the energy use effectiveness, water use effectiveness, especially from the cooling models perspective, and of course, carbon usage effectiveness, which is quite important right now. AI-ready facilities. We see that the needs of the AI data centers rise the density of the data halls. And when we right now considerate on the Polish DC market, when we are considering the racks between 30 and 120 plus kV per rack, we see that the needs of the technology that is going to be used for the cooling must be significantly changed. From this perspective, it will be good to consider it, as I mentioned previously, to build a data center like ready to liquid. Why I'm talking about this? Because now from Linar Projekt perspective, from my company perspective, we are right now at the beginning of the project that is preparing the ready to liquid data center campus with the 120 kV per rack and with the technology of cooling in the solution direct to chip. So this is the 2025, and right now it will be the first project in Poland with this kind of the solution. So if the market will speed up and the rest of the hyperscalers will start considering this, it will be good to be ready to do it. Yes, so I think this is the primary target that it should be considered for the future of the Polish DC market. I must. Yeah, to summary the whole situation, the future situation. So we see that the Polish DC market is one of the fastest growing in Europe. That was what was mentioned by me previously. This will connecting this information with the information that probably the hyperscalers will triple their sharing the market capacity by 2030. So this will speed up the evaluation of the Polish DC market, and it should be boosted by cloud adoption, AI workloads, hyperscaler presence, and the regulatory pressures. And when we are sum up this whole information to one very optimistic forecast for a Polish DC market. We can judge that maybe to the 2030, it won't be only 50 megawatts IT capacity in the Polish DCs, but when the hyperscalers will triple their share with the market, so theoretically, they will split the market 50-50 with the collocators and the rest of the players that currently work on this market. And maybe this is the very optimistic forecast for the market. Till the 2030, the capacity of the Polish DC market will rise even to 1,000 megawatts. And from this perspective, we could judge that maybe till 2035, it might be even 1,600 megawatts IT. Of course, this is the very optimistic forecast, but we see that the Polish DC market is changing right now, and we are at the beginning of the dynamic change process. And from this perspective, we should be open for the new players on the market and for those needs. Hopefully, the presentation was not that boring, as probably maybe part of you could judge. Probably Christina shared with you the information that this presentation will be shared with you after the webinar. If you have some kind of the questions to the presentation or to the DC market, please share it with this question on the chat. Maybe the information that I've presented right now was a little bit chaos, but I was trying to take the most important information from the data center in my head that I has already.
Thank you. Thank you, Apolinary. I would say the contrary of boring. Thank you for starting actually from the origins of how Poland is creating this potential of being a super hub. And it's a growth expectation. So thank you so much for that. We really appreciate it. As you were saying, yes, we will share this presentation alongside the recording of this webinar around in a couple of days. So thank you so much for that. So moving on, we have Michał. Michał, are you there?
Of course I am. Let
Okay.
me. Yeah. I'm in here.
You're not
Okay.
hiding.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Good.
Not at all.
All right. So whenever you're ready, feel free to share your presentation.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And-
Let me share my screen.
Sure. In the meantime, Apolinary, you have a couple of questions there if you want to check them out. If not, no worries, because we will see them at the end of the presentation.
Can you see my deck?
We do. Yep.
All right.
Yours.
All right. Let me kick off. Okay. So thank you guys for joining. My name is Michał Furmankiewicz. I'm a senior apps and AI engineer at Microsoft right now, but in the past, I've been doing different roles. And yes, I was involved in the data center business as well, mainly from the services capacity perspective. I guess if you are close to the cloud computing, you may know some of those things, but let's summarize that and let me show you where we are investing and how. So first things first, yes, we are investing heavily in Europe. As you can see, many places where we have our cloud regions, and I'm using the word region purposefully. It's not a data center, because in each of those regions we have many data centers just to which are just constituting to one region. If you want to go into the details, there's a website which is talking about our regions worldwide and about our data centers as well. But you may ask a question: why do you need so many of those in Europe? Why don't you just aggregate the capacity in specific places? Well, the thing is, people in Europe love to have a choice. And in many countries, we have many expectations. Hey, can we have a data region in Norway or in Poland or in Sweden? Because we prefer to have a region in the country. Well, this was a narrative we were hearing from our customers for many years. However, because of what's happening on our eastern border, this is not a case anymore. In many cases, people were asking about the region in Poland, and right now they are trying to find a region outside of Poland just to build their resiliency. From the numbers perspective, apart from Europe, as I said, we are all over the world, almost 70 plus regions, 400 plus buildings all over the world, and numbers are growing. And I'm saying are growing because even in Europe, we're investing in Finland, we're investing in Greece, and we've just released Belgium, for example, or Austria not so long time ago. And we are expanding. We're also expanding the regions we have, like Poland, for example, is expanding with some AI workloads. So it's a massive infrastructure, in many places, and with a strong pressure from some AI workloads, we are expanding this even more. I have some pictures for you. Some of them are pretty old, maybe old, and some of them may be changed a little bit because we are not disclosing the perfect locations. But at least in here, you are looking at one of those just to see the size of it, and just to see how we are thinking about the buildings. Of course, the buildings are changing, the structures are changing, and the sites are different from each other. Like in here, you can see one of those regions in Quincy, Washington, and maybe on the left-hand side, you can see that we have some solar panels, but also some wind turbines, not only to generate the power for the data centers or for the region, as you can see, but also to give it back to the community, because we don't always need that much of the power. You can also see some Amsterdam deployments. However, this is a very old one because Amsterdam is one of the biggest all over the world. I mean, the biggest site we have all over the world, and this is not the the whole region. As I said, many buildings, many data centers per region, and in some regions you can expect to have many of those. Another picture of Sweden, which is already actually running, but Sweden is interesting one because this is one of those places when we can get a lot of renewable energy, but we can also give back the heat to the local community. It's not always possible, or it's not always feasible from a technical or business perspective, but in that place it was. We are usually not sharing the megawatts for our deployments. However, for Italy, my friend Tiziano prepared a picture which is showing, how the Italian data center look like, or region looks like. At the bottom on the right-hand side, you can see the full spectrum of it, and you can see some numbers. As I said, we are not sharing them usually, but in here they were shared. One thing to remember, and I'm talking about this quite often, is that from the resiliency perspective, as I said, it's never one data center in the region. We, in each of those regions, cloud regions, we have at least three. We have 3 availability zones, as you can see on the right-hand side. And in each of those zones, you have to have at least one building. Those zones are departed from each other between 12 to 120 kilometers. Usually it's closer, but that's the maximum we can have. And also in Poland, of course, we have availability zones as well. And each of those zones, you have to have at least one building, right? Which means that per region, you have to have at least 3 data centers just to run it. Usually it's more. And as I said, we are not disclosing this number. It's fair to remember that we are always building like that. And the availability zones are your way to keep the workloads resilient in the region, so like in Poland Central. So if you spread out your services across the zones, if one of those will go down, you can still have your services running in the other zones. Of course, details matter. So if you want to talk about it in details, we have to talk about the specific solution and how to design it. If you want to go down a little bit, not only you can deploy your service across zones, but you can also deploy the services in the way that you can replicate them across data centers, meaning across the regions, meaning like you can have some workloads running in Poland, but you can also replicate some of those, for example, to Sweden. You can replicate the storage, you can replicate the running workloads, maybe the databases, and then you can figure out how you want to use it. Do you want to use it as active, meaning like some users will use the Poland and some Sweden, or maybe you want to redirect all the users to Poland, but if the Poland is down, the whole region is down, all the availability zones are down, then you may want to go to Sweden. This is more on the solution design part rather than the technical, rather than on the data center. But yes, we have those capabilities, and this is how we are building the resiliency. This is how we are giving you different options to build the resiliency from the perspective of the solution you have. From the physical perspective, there is a lot of to cover in here. For example, me as an employee, I don't have an access to those sites. People who are working on those sites are not, they cannot deploy any services. People who are deploying the services to those sites doesn't have the access to the physical regions, to the physical data centers. So there are different ways how we are monitoring all of those facilities, how we are making sure that we are only installing the hardware which was dedicated for that specific region, for that specific data center. There's no way you can, like, for example, take one switch and set it over to the other region, like, for example, in Austria. No, it will not work. But also, we are recording the whole track, track of each car which are bringing the servers to the data center, so we know that nobody has tempered any of those solutions as they were transferred from our warehouses to the data centers. There is a lot to cover, but it's also a lot to cover on the compliance side. We are trying to be the most compliant cloud all over the world, so we have over 110 different compliance certificates. You can find all of them on a special website. And if you think about that, 70 plus regions plus so many certifications, and you have to renew them, it's a complicated thing to do. But in that scale, we know how to do it, and we are keeping those certificates active. We are also decommissioning all the hard drives we have in the data center. So the hard drives are coming, but they are never leaving the data centers in the way they came in. We are burning them and decommissioning them using specific devices which are also certified. So you have to so we are sure that never the customer data will be tempered and never the data will be taken out from the place. So this is just to give you the overall scale and overall landscape of what we are building and how we are investing. And of course, we are investing in many other places for many reasons, because of this compliance expectations, because of the scale, because of some specific regulatory expectations. So yeah, we'll be investing still. But there are some challenges which we want to face, and we are facing them for many, many years. One, I've talked a little bit about the security resiliency, but I want to talk a little bit about the sustainability and the performance. And the sustainability is not something you can talk about without money. It's always about being sustainable and growing the scale, but it's also about keeping the cost of running those data centers low. So just to give you a couple of numbers, I will not go deep in here. Definitely, we've been trying to limit the PUE factor for many, many years, and the places and the deployments we have right now are somewhere between 1.16 to 1.12 or 1.1 PUE, which is like the best you can have all over the world. And we have to go that low, because otherwise, from the money perspective, as from the sustainability perspective, we will not be able to scale out as we are doing right now. When we were thinking about building a region in Poland and we were looking for other data centers which we could potentially buy and deploy our services, the best thing we could find was like 1.6. Of course, it was some time ago, probably. Right now the opportunity is very, very different, but that's why we are investing in our own designs, because we want to go as low as 1.12, for example. I'll show you that across a couple of those regions we have. Same for water usage effectiveness. We are still using our air cool, adiabatic cooling. We are using the outside air to cool those places. In certain situations, we have to go to other routes, especially in the countries which are super, super hot. But that's another thing we are looking at very, very much. How we can reduce the water usage, how we can make sure we are cooling the data centers enough to run them, but we don't have to keep the low temperature like in a typical data centers, right? We are not focusing on keeping the temperature so low typically. And we've learned over the years, we've been investing in that space for many, many years. And as you can see on this picture, you can see different dates and different architectures we were using across the globe and different PUE factor. And as you can see, the Poland, for example, is reusing RDD design and is using multi-availability and sustainability design, which is like a multi-bollard design, which you see, which was developed earlier. So we are trying on every new site to use the best and the most optimal architecture we can have, of course, according to the place where we are deploying it. So it's always a combination of both, but we are trying to reduce the PUE, we are trying to reuse the water usage effectiveness, but we are also trying to optimize for the power and consumption in that way that we can support all of those big clusters for AI and computing people are trying to build these days. I'll skip that part about water, but if you are really interested, happy to talk about it more. But let me focus right now on the part which you guys may be interested, meaning like what we are doing in terms of GPUs, AI, and all of that stuff, which is very hot these days. So of course, for many years, we've been deploying GPUs across the world for different purposes. Was it rendering? Was it visualization? Was it HPC? Was it simulation? But also for deep learning, we've been doing AI for many years, and it's not like ChatGPT only opened the AI world. We've been doing a lot of machine learning or deep learning projects with customers for many years. So we know that deploying GPUs at scale, deploying GPUs of different types, is a different animal from the perspective of power, from the perspective of heat, from the perspective of heat, but also from the perspective of how often you have to change them, right? Some people are saying, hey, I can go to the supermarket and buy a graphic card, which I can use for, playing games, but then I can use it to build the models. Well, in a home lab solution, maybe, but if you'll try to put those GPUs in the data center, they will just melt and super fast. That's why we are looking at the whole set of families across those different types of VMs, meaning virtual machines we have in Azure, and different types of GPUs. As you can see, we have many of those, and of course we are deploying new ones. But the thing is that right now we've already ended up what we can cool with air, and this is what a previous speaker talked about. We have to go liquid, and we expect that with the latest B200 behemoths, we are talking about 1,000 and 1,200 watts, and we expect more. We expect more, meaning we can generate more out of those cards. But for that, we definitely, as we are seeing a strong demand for those GPUs, not only for Gen AI models, but other models as well, we need to go with liquid cooling. And we are doing a lot for many years to figure out what we can do in here. Some of those projects you may have seen, this look like a bath or which you have in your bathroom, meaning like all the motherboards with the GPUs are sitting in something like that in the liquid, as you can see in here. And everything is sitting in that way, and then we can cool the whole server in that way. But we are also investing in other options, and we are trying to build it at scale. And in many of those cases, it's something we have to start from the scratch, because even though some of those technologies exist and we are buying ready-to-use liquid cooling technologies, we also need to figure out if those technologies are ready to be deployed in a massive scale across the globe. For example, we are right now investing heavily in Poland, and we cannot think in a small scale. We have to think in a global scale, because every percentage in a global scale matters. That's why, as you can see, different options where we can use liquid plus air to cool some things with the liquid, to cool the rest of the stack, like switches with air potentially. So yeah, we are working on those concepts, and we are deploying different options across the globe to figure out what will be the most efficient one. And maybe you know that, but just to reinforce that, when ChatGPT entered the game, we've already been working with OpenAI for another 5 or 6 years. But even right now, if you're using ChatGPT, basically you're burning the GPUs which are in our data centers, because OpenAI is using Microsoft Azure as the way to train the models, but also to host the ChatGPT solution and all the solutions they use. So they are running this on our infrastructure. And Sam Altman many times suggested that we as Microsoft, we had to build a dedicated a global scale computer for them to be able to train the models and host the models. So it's not like it's just about GPUs, but it's also about all those links, all those connections, all the cooling, and all the software which needs to be kept down there to keep this massive application up and running. But we are taking a next step. And I don't have a time to talk about that deeply right now, but Satya Nadella, our CEO, with Scott Guthrie, our VP for Cloud and AI business, they've announced another deployments in some places in the US, which they are calling them AI super factories, where now you have different factories across US, and they will come to Europe, which are interconnected to run some of those biggest models and some of those biggest trainings across the globe. It's not easy because the latency between those sites can significantly impose the training option, but still we are trying to do that because we know that for some of those deployment and for some of those latest GPUs from NVIDIA, like GB200 or GB300, we need a different design of a data center to support those. We don't reveal that much of the insights, but if you will go to that article, you will see what we are trying to do and how those deployments are different. And of course, AI is not only the way we expand. We have other workloads which are growing with AI and without it as well. So we have to make sure that we can balance those demands for the AI workloads in different ways, and for the, let's say, traditional workloads we have. And this is not the end game. I mean, like the GPUs from the biggest providers is not the end game as well. We are also investing from our perspective in the chip, in the silicon, in that place. And it was some time ago we've announced a ARM-based CPU, which was called Cobalt. It's not for everything. It's not for every workload. We are not claiming this CPU will be your another CPU for your VM, but for those workloads where you can use ARM processors, you can compile your code into our ARM architecture. Those could be pretty cheap for you to buy. For you to run actually your VMs on it. For us, it will give us an option to scale that as those processors are not generating that much heat as the typical x86 processors. So not everything can run on those, but even today we are already running Microsoft Teams, some parts of Azure Communication Services, some parts of Azure SQL, and other workloads on those ARM processors. And that's another thing, because we've virtualized how we are deploying our hardware and how we are using this hardware to support our workloads. We have a big ability to move the workloads from one place to the other, our workloads, meaning SaaS workloads, but we also have the capability to support those workloads with other developments regarding to the hardware. For that purpose, we are also investing in Maya. You probably have seen this one some time ago. Maya is built from scratch by us to support some LM training and inference workloads. So it's not a GPU which can do everything. It's not a general purpose GPU. However, at the same time, we know that we can host some models done by OpenAI. We can host some workloads from Bing. We can host some workloads to GitHub Copilot, and even ChatGPT is using Maya for the training and inference. So we are also investing in that space because we believe that running sustainable, scalable data centers is possible only if you invest in the hardware, into the infrastructure, into the software, into the deployment, and into the cooling and all of that. You have to invest across to get the benefits, which will help you to scale. In here, you can see how the Maya has been running in some of those big servers. And the fascinating thing is that the software company like us is building some of those racks, and some of those racks are designed by the people who are working for us or by our vendors. But it's fascinating to see that the way the hardware has been changing in the data center is because some of those cloud providers like us needs a different level of density, needs a different level of cooling, needs a different level of computing workloads. And because of that, we can impact how the industry are thinking about the scale. So many different things. I've covered many different things. I'm happy to answer some of your questions, but bear in mind, some of them on some of those informations or some of those designs are not disclosed, and I'm not an electrical engineer, so I will not be able to cover. But anyhow, I'll try to answer all of your questions. And with that, thank you very much. And yeah, back to you.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Amazing presentations, both of you. So thank you. Thank you for this breakdown. It's really important to see that it's in bits of every different part that composes the topic. So thank you, Michał, for that. Thank you, Apolinary, also for a great presentation. So there are a couple of questions there, Michał, if you want to check them out. We're going to start with the Q&A. Apolinary, I'm going to start with you because you did talk a little bit about the regions where there was most potential for data centers in Poland. Is there, and you did, and we did see that it's growing year by year. Is there any specific region that you see that has more potential than another one, or are you seeing anything that catches your curiosity?
We can easily judge that the Warsaw till the end of 2025 was one of the most important region in Poland to that should be considered for the data centers. But right now, from the energy consumption perspective, we see that the rest of the players in the meaning of the cities in Poland should be considered. I was talking about the 5 till 6 even most important destination that should be considered from the perspective of the dark fiber which lies near to those cities. So we can easily judge that when for example, for Poznań, which is the capital city of Greater Poland, right now we've got few operators, mainly Beyond operates here. He's ready to welcome the client on the level of 200 megawatts IT right now, and he's almost ready to build everything. And counting the cities and counting the technical possibilities, looking at the Wrocław, for example, I have a chance to cooperate with the Nokia there. We've created the DC dedicated for the 50 megawatts IT. At the third stage, it is 24 megawatts IT. It is quite more flexible to operate in the rest of the cities from the electric consumption perspective than in Warsaw, because Warsaw is full of DCs and Warsaw waits, of course, for the infrastructure projects that they are undergoing right now. So after, I think, 2-3 years, Warsaw will be very open for the big clients once again, and it's still open, but it will be very open, if I may call it like this. But it's still to consider the rest of the cities that I indicated, because it's open, they're open and wide, and they have a quite good electric power connections right now, and the latency, for example, from the hyperscaler perspective in those kind of the destinations is low, and I'm on the expectation from the AI or the rest of the cloud services.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you, Apolinary, for that response. I didn't mention anything, but even though we direct the question to someone, if there's any additional comments that the other speaker would like to do, feel free to do so. Just let me know and mark it, and that's completely fine. You're going to say, Apolinary.
Yeah, maybe Michał has a different point of view about the cities, because probably, Michał, right now you are operating in Warsaw directly, and but of course, for the first business, for the first DC business, it's good to be located in the capital city of the country that you are going to start with, because you have a lot of group of experts that they are waiting for your decisions and that they can help you with. But Michał, the rest of the cities, like like Krakow, like Poznań, like Wrocław, they're quite comfortable to do the business, the DEC businesses there. Yeah. What do you think about this?
I don't have the latest, to be very honest. Our analysis are back at like 3-4 years ago. But I agree with you. But I don't have the latest, so that's the only comment I can give. I think the other part is it's not only about the locations which are there, but also about the power capacity you can have in those places. So depends on what you want to do. That's the thing which was very, very important for us when we were looking for locations. So yeah.
Yeah, there was a totally different story when we were considering the cities from the collocation perspective, when we are trying to figure out how to place there the 10-15 megawatts IT, but when we are considering the hyperscalers clients, when they are starting talks from 100 and 150 megawatts IT, as you mentioned, Michał, the technical power connection is very important from this perspective. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
There
Well,
was a question, Michał, maybe you had a chance to read it, about the life cycle of the hard drives. This was quite topic, I think, interesting from my side. Maybe you could, if you have a chance, maybe you could answer from the Microsoft perspective, because me as an expert in the AEC company, we are designing this, but we don't have the kind of the information directly from the client, how this looks like from. Can you share with us this information?
That's the thing. We are not sharing any numbers globally,
Okay.
but anecdote. There are some anecdote. How do you call it?
Anecdotes?
Anecdotes. Yeah,
Stories?
exactly. How many of those are changed? And I still remember when we were talking about Chicago region, but it was many years ago, that there is a one ship bringing new ones every month. But I don't think this gives you any value, to be very honest. I'll explain why. First of all, the technologies has changed, and we are also using different technologies for supporting the drives. That's one. Second one, we are also building our own hard drives. I know it sounds crazy, but yeah, you can find SSD drives with Microsoft logo on the silicon. So that's the second thing, and this, and probably we don't reflect those numbers. That's the second thing. The third thing is the workload can vary between the regions. So I don't think there's one number which is easy to share in the global scale. So that's the challenge. The last part is we are also investing in that area. We are trying to build solutions for archiving the data, which will be putting the data on the glass with the laser. And actually, this project has been in R&D for like last 6 or 7 or maybe 8 years. There are some deployments of that, but right now, taking it from the R&D to the production, it's a different thingy. So yeah, I'm sorry for not giving you the perfect answer, but I can only talk about what we have been disclosing as a company.
But
so
probably you've got data labs that you are when you are testing the hard drives, and the life cycle comparing with the 2015 probably is much more longer. Yeah, counting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the last thing is I can share that when we were often asked about the servers life cycle in our data centers, it's also a complicated answer. But the good part is that even though we've increased the temperatures in our data centers to keep the power usage effectiveness low, we don't see that this impacts the life cycle of those so massively. Of course, there is an impact, but it's not like 50%. No, it's less. Again, no numbers to share. That's one part. But the second part is we can also reuse. We are trying to close the cycle. So if we have some old families of servers which we are not giving away to customers, you have to keep in mind that we have a lot of our workloads which we need to keep and run just for the rest of the data center to keep and running. So we are using those servers for ourselves as well. So you can think about a pretty long time. For the servers, which we are still used by us, not always by customers, but by us, by ourselves. So, yeah.
So the story about this ship will not take place right now. The ship full of hard drives. Yeah?
Yeah, Christina, I cannot answer some of those questions. I don't know if it's me or my keyboard or whatever, but I'm happy to take some questions which are on the chat and answer them. I don't know how
Uh,
you do it about it, but yeah, I can answer.
No worries. Let's do one
Sure.
that you marked, and the rest of them we will send them to you, to both of you, so you
Okay.
can answer them personal. Just because we're finishing on the
Right.
time, but let's finish with one more question, and then we're off to other things. So, Michal, is Azure still looking for RTBDCs in Germany, excluding Berlin, Frankfurt, and what is the minimum IT load?
So cannot comment on this one because again, my knowledge is up to date in the last, has been updated in the last couple of years. I can connect you with the people responsible for those places in Germany, but hard to comment on that. What is the current stance on
Okay.
this topic? Yeah.
Great. Well, no worries at all. Since time's up, thank you so much for your time and your
Thank you, guys.
presentations and
Thank you.
your knowledge. It's been excellent presentations. We do really appreciate it. We will share this recording to everyone in a couple of days, and we will also send the questions unanswered to our speakers. So if they have any additional comments, they can contact you directly. So thank you everyone for being here today. We really appreciate your insights. Thank you for our great,
Thank you,
outstanding
guys.
speakers. And we'll see everyone very, very